Hi, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk Chicago. My name's Jon Zaghloul. Great to have you here. Channel 59.3 BPOD TV and Roku. Big show for today. The Bears had a tough loss this weekend against Green Bay. Talk about what happened and what happened to Justin Fields, too, in just a second. Before we get started, make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports and on Facebook at Jon Zaghloul. If you want to watch more of this show, special clips and interviews, all you have to do is search up Sports Talk Chicago on YouTube or go to sportstalkchicago.com. If you want to watch other shows from the BPOD TV network, search up VPOD TV on YouTube. I want to start today with this. I own you. I blanking own you. When Aaron Rodgers made that statement, I had a big problem with it. As did many of you, understandably. But here's my question. Was it wrong? Was it inaccurate? Was it a lie? No. And that's the part that hurts. 21-5 against the Bears in his career. Yeah, you're allowed to say you own the Bears if that's your record against him. I took issue with it. It's an arrogant and cocky statement. Nevertheless, it's true. And that summed up the entire game for the Bears yesterday. There were some good parts. We'll talk about them. But overall, it was just a frustrating game to watch. To their credit, they were in it. At the end of the second half, really set the tone for the rest of the game. Here's a quote from Kevin Fishbain. What a debacle. Bears had a golden opportunity to score at least 3 points before the half, and then they got the ball after halftime. Delay of game after a timeout, then a sack on 3rd and long. David Hall. Really disjointed, disappointing possession by the Bears to end the half. Drove the ball down to the 35, took a delay of game, and then a sack. You got a chance to go into halftime, tied at 10. Due to poor game management and decisions, they trailed 10-7. Fields' inexperience a factor, coaching too. I'm not saying that was the one deciding moment in the game, but it certainly shifted momentum. As after the half, things got out of hand for the Bears. They had chances, they couldn't convert. The offense was completely bungled after that possession, and they never recovered. You look at the numbers for the Bears yesterday. Justin Fields, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 174 yards. So once again, he's not being let loose. I've maintained this from the beginning. I didn't want Fields to start right away, but he's in now. Fine. Why are you conserving him if you put him in? I thought the whole point was to protect him. That's why I didn't want him in. Protect him, bad old line, let him develop, then put him in when you think he's ready. Why put him in and then turn around and say, well, you're only going to throw the ball so many times. You're not going to throw the ball deep. We're worried about you. Let him loose, then. Can't be on the fence about your rookie quarterback who needs to be developed. It's either you let him loose and play football, or you sit him and you wait till you think he's ready to play. You can't let him play halfway, in a sense. It's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help his development. It's not going to help you win football games. So either way, you're screwed. That's the problem. The last time I checked, the whole point of this season was developing Justin Fields, and maybe win a few games here and there, but even Matt Nagy knew in order to save his job, he needed to show development with Justin Fields. Well, right now the Bears aren't winning. They're 500 again, and Justin Fields isn't developing. Not yet. Not going to blame it all on him. Look what's going on with the coaching and play calling. His numbers are similar to Mitch Trubisky's, his rookie year, under John Fox. That should be concerning because we all know, we can all agree, Justin Fields, physically, as a specimen, is more talented. He could run the ball more, throw the ball more downfield, better arm strength, and yet his numbers mirror Mitch Trubisky. What does that tell you? Shouldn't that be concerning? I'm really not pleased with the way he's being handled right now. And sure, he's made mistakes. 100%. That free play was a bad call. The interception he threw, not his fault. But he made another bad throw downfield that was almost intercepted. He's a rookie. Doesn't have 100% pocket awareness yet. Doesn't have 100% good decision-making skills yet. Even Greg Gabriel, the scout, said that Justin Fields is holding onto the ball too long, typical of a rookie, but he needs to improve this part of his game. Yes, he's not perfect. He's so accustomed to a good old line, to good protection, like at Ohio State, he held onto the ball long. There were times yesterday where he ran the ball and he didn't need to. You guys opened downfield and just decided to tuck it and run it. Fine, whatever. I'm not going to say it's all on Matt Nagy. Justin Fields is an inexperienced quarterback. That's a fact. But you know what? We need to see some sort of development here. We need to see some sort of improvement. This, right now, this whole situation isn't working. If you're clamoring to put in Justin Fields, if you're worried about him playing, let the kid play. Don't let him play limited. Don't say, hey, Justin, you're starting, but you're only going to throw the ball 20 times. At that point, just sit him then. Then don't play him. So funny, too, because Matt Nagy said at the beginning of the year, Justin Fields is not ready, no way. Now the claim is, yes, he's ready, he's doing great, looks good. If you really trust that he's ready, you'll let him throw the ball more than 20 times a game. 10 times a game. That's just a fact. And the Bears aren't acknowledging it. They aren't doing anything about it. They're playing the same old thing each and every week with Fields. He's taken way too many sacks, not enough protection. There have been some drops on his watch, too. He's made some poor decisions. Most importantly, he really hasn't thrown the football. And I just don't see the development that everybody said he's supposed to be doing, and it's not his fault. It's Matt Nagy. I don't see the development that everyone's talked about yet. Granted, it's only been 3 or 4 games, but still, we should see something. We haven't, because he's been limited on purpose in throwing the football. If there's one positive I could extrapolate from the game on Sunday, it's Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert had an outstanding performance. 19 carries, 97 yards, 5.1 a carry, and a touchdown. He did great. This Bears running game really is one of the best I could remember. David Montgomery was killing it till he got hurt. Damian Williams was doing well too before COVID. Now Khalil Herbert. 3 different running backs who could carry the ball more than 4 yards every single time. You don't see that too often in the NFL. Even to Matt Nagy and Bill Lazor's credit, they've done a good job at developing the run game, which is a Bears' hallmark. And the defense is good too, 8th overall. They couldn't really contain Aaron Rodgers late. He did have 2 touchdowns, but only 197 yards. Problem was Aaron Jones did run the ball well, over 5 yards a carry. Eddie Jackson forgot how to tackle, too. That's not going to help you. I don't know if you saw, there was a tweet that went viral. I guess Eddie Jackson in 2011 essentially criticized Lance Briggs and said Lance Briggs doesn't know how to tackle. Pretty ironic, isn't it? Criticizing a Bears legend for, quote, not knowing how to tackle when you yourself are having some issues there. I saw someone say, well, Eddie Jackson's job isn't to tackle. Well, yeah, it is. You're still a defender. No, you're not a linebacker, you're not a defensive end, but you should still be able to make an open field tackle, even if you're in the secondary. Everybody should. And he can't. That's a problem. I just don't like the way Fields is being handled. I really don't. I think this whole process could be better. Commit to something. That's my message to the Bears today. Commit to something. I don't really care what it is. You could turn around and say, you know what, Fields, you need to sit, you're not ready, learn from the bench. Or, conversely, you could say, well, you're not going to learn unless you go all in. We'll let you throw the ball 30, 40 times a game and see what happens. I'm fine with either or. I want what's best for Justin Fields. I want what's best for his development. What I don't want, which is what we've been seeing, is, well, maybe this or maybe that. Right down the middle. No, you can't do that. It's not going to work. You can't be limiting his skill set that really is unlimited, too. We're being a bit too fragile and a bit too conservative with him. Let the guy throw the football. Made a couple of nice throws yesterday. Couple of bad ones, too. So be it. Look, at this point, if you commit to Justin Fields playing every game, then let him play. Literally, every game. Let him be himself. Don't conform him to your idea of a quarterback. Let him do what he needs to do. Look, at the end of the day, it's going to be on his shoulders, right? Whether he succeeds or fails, doesn't matter. It's going to be on him. Let it be on him. Give him freedom. Give him free reign to do what he needs to do offensively. If he can't come through, well, it's his fault. If he can, great. Praise him. Stop taking the middle approach. The middle approach is going to get you nowhere. Well, I know where it's going to get you. It's going to get you an 8-8 record again, maybe a playoff appearance, and an undeveloped quarterback. And once again, we're seeing it play out. Let him play. Let him throw the ball downfield. Let him throw the ball more than 15, 20 times a game. Let him be himself. Or conversely, sit him then. If you're so concerned and you don't think he's ready, go ahead and put him on the bench again. You have Andy Dalton, you have Nick Foles. One or the other. The point is, this season was about development from the beginning. Wins were secondary. The whole point of this season is developing Justin Fields to be that next franchise guy. So far, it's been right down the middle. And the wins and losses have been right down the middle. Now Nagy's trying to balance winning and keeping his job with developing Justin Fields. And it's turned into a whole cluster. Because guess what? The Bears aren't winning games. They're 3-3. And it's only going to get worse. Tampa Bay's coming up this weekend. And you're limiting Justin Fields on purpose. So in both ways, you're failing. Your goal was to develop Justin Fields and maybe win a few games. But it was okay if you did it. I was fine with this team going 6-11, which was my preseason prediction. 7-10, 8-9, 9-8. I'm fine with that if Justin Fields shows development. Hey, Justin Herbert last year in Los Angeles, 4,000 plus passing yards. Great year. They went 7-9. Who cares? Fired the coach, brought someone new in. They're doing great. The whole point was to develop Justin Herbert. It worked. Now look. They let him loose. They said, here, rookie, it's all up to you. And he performed. Do the same thing with Justin Fields. I'm not saying abandon the run game. I'm not saying abandon hallmarks for this team. All I'm saying is give more of the game to Justin Fields. Let more of it rest in his hands. He needs to grow. The only way he's going to grow at this point, if you're committed to playing him, is letting the guy play. Put him in a 2-minute drill. Put him in a game-winning situation. Let him throw a Hail Mary. See what he could do. See how he reacts in these different situations. Don't coddle him. Because if you coddle him, he's not going to develop. And we'll be back at square one again by next season. The Bears really have to take a look at themselves and understand what the point of this season is. Like, they really have to remember what the whole goal of 2021 is. Not wins. And that's a fact, because everybody said it from the beginning. Even Matt Nagy, he could keep his job here if he shows that he's the right coach for Justin Fields. So it's not all about winning. It's about developing. If that's what it's all about, if that's the whole point, let him develop. Let him play. Let him do what he needs to do to get better. It's going to be really hard to justify benching him. So if Matt Nagy in his heart believes, he's really not ready, you've already trotted him out there. So that option's off the table. So the only remaining option is, if you're going to do it, go all in. You're going to make a gamble and say, you know what, we're going to see what he could do. And go all in. Don't be conservative about it. Because if you're conservative about it, it's not going to work. You got to take a risk. Somewhat of one. If you don't, guess what? Team's going to go 7-10, 8-9, 9-8. Maybe make the playoffs if they're lucky, and Justin Fields will turn into another Mitch Trubisky when it comes to numbers and play calling. Even though he's more talented physically. I don't think anybody wants that. I know nobody wants that. Just let him play. If he makes a mistake, guess what? It's not your fault. You let him play. His fault. So if that's what you're worried about, don't worry about that either. You really got nothing to lose if you're Matt Nagy. Or the Bears. There's nothing to lose. Nobody expected a playoff appearance this year. So if you don't make it, it's fine. Everybody did expect, though, Justin Fields to look good by year's end. Not put up the numbers he's been putting up. No one asked or expected, 16 of 27, 174 yards, touchdown and a pick. No one wanted that. No one expected that. Well, if that's the case, bring back Mitch or put in Andy Dalton. That's what you're looking for. People want to see Justin Fields be himself, be who he's supposed to be. He has arm strength. He could run the football. Let him do what he's good at doing. Don't limit him. Don't tell him no, or I don't know, or we'll see. No, let him play. The worst that happens, the absolute worst, is he shows everybody he's a bust. And you know what? That's not a bad thing. Because if that's the case, then you go draft another quarterback. Or you hire a new coach and have him develop Justin Fields. So either way, there's nothing nobody loses by letting him play all the time. By letting him be himself, let him throw the ball 40 times, make plays downfield. Let him do what he wants to do. Let him be himself on the field. You don't lose anything by fully committing. See, the Bears are like 50-50 committed to Justin Fields. They'll publicly say 100%, but the numbers, the attempts, the passes, the play calling really signifies 50-50. They were 100% all in. Justin Fields would throw the ball 35, 40 times a game. He'd have 300 yards a game, 250 at least, and he'd have more touchdowns. Some people say numbers are deceiving. Oh, you can't judge his performance off the numbers. You're right in a sense, but you know what? The guy needs to produce at the end of the day. These numbers consistently are not going to win you football games, and I'm not blaming him. I'm advocating for Justin Fields. I want him to get more chances to win football games. Right now, he's getting limited. He's getting told, don't do this, don't do that. Don't pass this much. I want the opposite. If you're fully committed to putting him in, then be fully committed. Let him be the show for your offense. Let him be the guy. It's clear that since he came in to start, he really hasn't been the guy. And hey, the Bears won last week. They beat Las Vegas. Great game. They didn't need Justin Fields, and that was fine. But what did I say last week? This Packer game is going to be a big test. Can Justin Fields rise up to the moment? Can Matt Nagy finally beat the Packers? Are the Bears going to run a cohesive offense? All of that played into it. They lost. Only put up 14 points. I think I know what I need to know now. They failed the test. Everybody across the board. Could get better at the end of the year, but right now they failed. And I'm not saying the Bears season is over. It's 3-3. Long way to go, even though their goal really isn't the playoffs. But regardless, there's a ways to go to get better, for sure. But right now, they failed what they said they were going to do. They have not developed Justin Fields. They really aren't winning any football games, and they're about the same as they were last year and the year before. They're literally the same. Past 2 years, they've gone 8-8. Now they're 3-3. Something has to give here. And I'm sure they're working hard to figure it out, but something really has to give. Bears fans, Bears media cannot just be accepting another 500 season. You know, Adam Gase in 4 years in Miami went 500 overall. They fired him. They made the playoffs a couple of times too. Still fired him. Because every time they made it, they were eliminated right away. Always got a wild card spot, and that was it. And the Dolphins said, can't we have more? They brought in Brian Flores, and well, hasn't gone according to plan yet, but the point is, they wanted more. They wanted more than just 500, couple of playoff appearances, and getting bounced right away. Having no quarterback, too. At the time, that was Ryan Tannehill, and he wasn't even developed. They made big changes, and so far, they've somewhat paid off. But the point is, they took a risk. They took a chance. They rolled the dice. They moved on. The Bears are really stuck in the same position. There's no rolling the dice. There's no taking chances. There's no moving on. The same thing. That really has to change. At the end of the day, all I want is Justin Fields to develop because you traded up again to get him. This is the second quarterback under Ryan Pace that you've traded up for. More draft capital you've given up to get another quarterback. Don't screw this one up. Let the kid play. If you're committed to putting him in, if you told everybody he's the guy, he's number one, and let him actually be number one and act like number one. Other than that, it's a tough loss. They're 3-3. I don't have high expectations for the rest of the year, but I do have high expectations for Justin Fields in developing. If the Bears can't come through on that promise, which they promised before the year, well, we know what needs to happen. Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace need to go, and something needs to change. I'm not going to sit here idle and watch another quarterback just go by the wayside and get ruined. They have a chance to develop him, and to me, there shouldn't be any problem with doing that. Thanks again for watching today's show here on BPON TV and Roku. Really appreciate you tuning in. Some big interviews this week. David Sampson, former president of the Miami Marlins and the host of Nothing Personal, and Todd Furman from Outkick, CBS Sports, and Bet the Board. We talked with both of them about some great stuff coming up this week, plus the Bears preview for their game against Tampa Bay. Make sure you're tuning in every day, 10:30 to 11, right here on BPON TV.